Just put real money into your Jeep. Not Amazon accessory money, real money. Tires, lift, bumpers, wheels, the stuff that's supposed to make it better. And somewhere between the concept and the first drive, something went terribly wrong. The steering wanders, the ride beats you up, the whole thing feels heavy and shaky, like it's fighting you instead of working with you. Most people's first instinct is to buy something else. Keep adding, figure out what's still wrong and how to fix it. That instinct is exactly what's making things worse. Most Jeep problems aren't gear problems. They're understanding problems. And the best way to build a Jeep that actually performs is to stop spending money until you understand what's already happening. That's what today is about. I'm going to talk to you about 5 reasons why modified Jeeps often drive worse than stock and what you can actually do about it. Some of these can be fixed with little to nothing. Some might be expensive to fix. But either way, understanding the trade-offs is exactly where you need to start. All right, number 1, before you buy anything, check your tire pressure. I mean, actually check it with a gauge against a number that you think should be right. Don't just hit the tire and assume it's fine. Because one of the most common reasons a modified Jeep feels awful on the road is sitting right there in the valve stem. And I keep seeing it. Guys with $4,000 of tires and wheels running pressures that make no sense for their setup, then wondering why the Jeep feels like garbage. Here's what actually changes when you go to a bigger tire. Everything. The contact patch is different. The sidewall stiffness is different. The way the tire deforms under the vehicle is totally different. The pressure that worked for your stock 285s doesn't work for your 37s. Too much pressure on a larger tire and the Jeep starts to get skittish, twitchy, flighty, however you want to explain it. Every seam in the pavement punches back through the chassis. The front end feels loose. You start making these constant small corrections on the highway you never had to make before because your Jeep is all over the place. And because nobody connects the feeling back to pressure, they go buy a steering stabilizer, a new track bar, shocks, dollars on top of dollars, chasing a problem that is likely a free fix because of their lack of understanding in the system. For most Wranglers on 35s or 37s, street pressure somewhere in the high 20s to low 30s is a better starting point than most people are running. That's not a rule, it's a starting point. Drop your pressure, drive the same road, feel where your Jeep settles, where the harshness backs off, and where the steering firms up. Write that number down so you don't forget it. And look, this sure isn't sexy. It doesn't make a good Instagram post, but it seriously changes how your Jeep feels more than almost any bolt-on part ever will. By the way, drop me a comment if you ever bought something to fix a feeling and it turned out to be something dumb like this. I didn't learn all this from reading. It came from me through experience, so you're not alone. But anyway, if the pressure is the free problem, what you're about to hear next might be an expensive one, and nobody talks about it honestly. Number 2, I want to say something about E-load tires that might not be very popular. For most Wranglers, they're the wrong tire. I know, they seem stronger, they seem like a better choice, and sometimes they're really the only affordable choice. This isn't because they're bad tires. It's just that they're built for trucks, diesel trucks, work trucks, trucks carrying real payloads. The sidewall stiffness, the casing weight, the way it absorbs impact, all of that is calibrated for a platform that weighs a lot more than a Jeep. Put an E-load tire on a lighter Jeep and the tire is fighting the suspension. It's stiffer than the shocks are made to work with. The ride gets punishing. The suspension tries to do a job and the tire just won't cooperate. You paid for durability, but you ended up with a compliance problem instead because your Jeep isn't actually that heavy. Then factor in the wheel. Most guys with aggressive tires are running a bigger, heavier wheel. Not many ways around this one, but every pound that you add at the wheel adds what is called unsprung weight. It affects how fast your suspension can respond to the ground, your braking distance, steering feel, how quickly that tire tracks back to the surface after you hit it. Your suspension has to control upward and downward movement, and the heavier it is, the more challenging it can be. Off-road, where terrain is constantly changing, you feel every inch of it. Your Jeep gets harder to place, it reacts slower, it's working harder to do less. I would say, look at a C or a D load options in the same tire patterns you're already considering. For most Wranglers that aren't hauling serious loads, and most aren't, C or D load tires ride way better, provide quality sidewall strength, and respond better, and saves you real weight at each corner, and those are real world impacts. And look, I'm not saying heavier tires are wrong. There are builds out there that justify them, But most people I talk to who are running E-loads have never actually needed them. They just sounded more serious. Or it's the only option for a tire in the budget they were looking at. And I get it. Everyone has a budget and they do what they have to do. All I'm saying is know what the trade-offs are before you buy. That's the whole journey. And if you want a framework for thinking through that before you spend, the free Jeep Cost Control Playbook is linked below. It's exactly what it's built for. But here's the thing about tire and wheel weight. That's weight you chose deliberately. Most people have no idea how much weight they didn't choose, the kind that just accumulated. All right, number 3, pull whatever you use to track your build. Look at everything on the Jeep right now. Do you actually know how much it weighs? Not stock weight, not the sticker. What's the weight right now? Fully loaded, ready to leave the driveway. I'd guess most people watching this don't know. And that number, whatever it is affecting how that Jeep drives every single day. It doesn't happen in a moment. Steel bumper goes on, then a winch, skids, a rack, your suspension, maybe a tent, tools, 2 water jugs that became 4, a fridge, fuel can, recovery kit. None of it felt like a big decision, and all of it has a purpose. But that Jeep that left the factory was engineered to a specific weight, with a specific suspension tune, specific brake bias, specific steering geometry. You know, you add 800 pounds to that and the whole thing is working against assumptions that no longer exist. Your braking distance gets longer, your body rolls more. The suspension, whatever you paid for it, is now managing a load it wasn't set up for. The Jeep that used to feel quick now feels like it's deciding whether it wants to respond or not. The higher the weight sits, the uglier it gets. A loaded roof rack raises the center of gravity in a vehicle that already has a high one. On a side slope, a tight shelf road, you're gonna feel it. That's not paranoia, that's simple physics. The audit I do, and honestly I probably need to do myself, is to look at what's on your Jeep versus what you actually used in the last 6 months. Most people find gear that's been along for the ride for the last 2 years without ever being touched. Get it out of there. If you're not running a multi-day expedition, you probably don't need to be set up for one. A Jeep loaded for what you actually do drives better than a Jeep loaded for a version of yourself that you're planning to become. And that weight problem doesn't stay contained to ride quality either. It quietly destroys your suspension from underneath. Number 4, this is the section where people have spent the most money on my channel's type of advice without actually following it. The Jeep feels wrong. They know suspension is part of it, so they buy suspension. And sometimes that's exactly right. But I've watched people go through 2 or 3 sets of shocks chasing a feeling that had nothing to do with the shocks. Wrong tire pressure, too much unsprung weight, a build that grew 600 pounds heavier than the suspension under it was ever asked to handle. New shocks go in, it feels better for a few weeks, and then that same feeling kind of comes back. A suspension system is doing a lot of things simultaneously. Managing weight under braking, absorbing impacts, keeping the tires in contact with the ground, controlling body motion through directional changes. Different setups prioritize different things, and there's no version that's good at all of them. Here's what actually matters before you spend anything. Know your loaded weight, not your curb weight, what the Jeep weighs when you're actually using it. Fuel, water, gear, everything you carry. That number should be driving your spring rate conversation with any suspension company worth buying from. If they don't ask for it, have planned for it, or have a solution around it, I'd probably keep looking. And if you lifted the Jeep and never corrected the geometry afterwards, caster, track bar height, end link length, steering angles, etc., start there before you blame the shocks. I personally had Jeeps that felt way better after a simple geometry correction. The geometry was wrong from the lift, and it didn't take that long to get it right. Fix the geometry first. Know your loaded weight before speccing out springs. These conversations happen backwards constantly, and people end up paying twice. All right, number 5. And I'll say the thing that gets skipped in most Jeep content. A Wrangler on 37s with a 3.5-inch lift is still a solid axle vehicle with a short wheelbase and a high center of gravity. It was designed as a capable off-road vehicle that also drives on the road, not a luxury SUV that also goes off-road. Those are 2 completely different things. Social media has done something strange to expectations around builds. People see photos, heavily modified Jeeps, and somewhere in the process start expecting that a modified Jeep should ride better, track better, and feel more planted than a stock one, and that upgrades are supposed to fix the platform. They don't. And chasing that feeling is exactly how you end up with a Jeep that costs twice what it should and still doesn't feel right, because you were trying to solve something that the platform isn't designed to solve. The Jeeps that I've driven that actually feel dialed are almost never the ones that are the most built up. They're the most matched. The tire makes sense for the platform. The suspension matches the loaded weight. And the gear matches your actual trips. You're not fighting anything else. So right now, what's available to you without buying anything this week? Check your tire pressure against the number that you actually thought about. Pull the gear that you haven't touched in 6 months. Find out what your Jeep actually weighs loaded. You can go to a truck scale, it costs a few bucks, and the number will tell you more about your build than any product page ever will. You're not missing parts. You're missing information about what you already have. Owners who figure that out stop spending money on problems that don't exist, and they start spending it, when they even spend it at all, on things that actually close the gap between where the Jeep is and where they need it to go. That's a different kind of builder. And if you made it this far, you're already thinking like one. Drop a comment and tell me that one thing that changed how your Jeep felt. Good mod, bad mod, free fix, whatever it was. I'm curious what people are actually finding out there. There's one more layer to this that I haven't touched yet, because the question underneath everything covered today isn't just why your Jeep feels wrong. It's why you built it that way in the first place. That video is up right now. It's called You Built Your Jeep for the Wrong Reasons. If anything today felt familiar, that one is going to land differently. Watch it next. Thanks for stopping by, Roam Nation. See you on the next one.